Does your girl cook and clean unprompted? Does she shut up in front of your friends? Does she give you sex regardless of how she feels? Does she give up her social media for you? If she isn't doing these basic things for you guys, you need to start really considering if this girl is the one.
Women like yourself, baby mamas, all of a sudden want to get stingy with the puss after you done gave your womb up before a ring.
What truth does she want to hear? And then that's the one that we try to conjure up and provide. And it's not really that the guy's lying or just a liar. He's just trying to keep peace at the house. He really, really is.
But we're gay, right? We shouldn't have to deal with this at all. So why are we talking about this?
Why are we talking about this? I guess, even though we are gay, very much, we are brought up and socialized as black women.
Straight
right?
black women.
Straight black women. And a very huge part of that is learning how to cater to a black man.
True.
Preferably by your parents.
True.
So this ties in with a lot of our upbringing and also kind of seeps into our queer relationships, as these are habits that we've learned, our whole entire lives.
True.
And it's hard to break that cycle. So that's
True.
why we are able to comment on this topic. And if you think about how we were raised as well, all the media that we consumed as kids was primarily straight. Like all the movies, the songs, books, everything was just straight and romantic.
Yeah.
So yes, we are as straight as we are gay.
True. That's how we've been conditioned to relationship, right? Yes, I'm sticking to that relationship. Because no one really ever taught you in school, like, this is how you have a healthy relationship. You just learned that stuff from the movies and the books you were watching, and in 2012, I guess, it was Think Like a Man. That was like the big romance movie then, where we all got like a lot of interesting information.
I got it before that.
Really?
Because, it did. Because I read the book before I watched the movie when I was...
Oh, you're one of those people.
I wish I wasn't. I read it when I was like 15, 14. And it was interesting. It was very interesting. I don't know what I was doing reading that book at such a young age, but I felt like I needed to prepare myself for the future. And Steve Harvey was the one to get me to where I needed to be in terms of relationships.
Yeah, and over 2 million people agree with you. Like, this book sold a lot of copies, made him a lot of money, and surprisingly enough, got a lot of good reviews.
Yeah.
Right, like when we were watching the movies and reading the book, we were like, this is ridiculous.
Who would agree?
No one's going to agree to this, but a lot of women agree with what he was saying. And so we were like, we definitely need to talk about this, because if that's the way the majority is heading, I'm concerned.
So we're going to use the book as the main reference for this video and kind of tell you about like 3 dangerous ideas we got from watching this movie and reading this book about, the dating life.
Yeah.
And at the end, we're also going to tell you like the most disgusting part about that whole movie.
Yeah.
Besides
This
the
song.
song.
Last night I had a dream about a dream.
Hi roommates, I'm Demi.
And I'm Ru.
And I hope you guys are doing well, because we're not
At
doing
all.
okay.
No.
We're not.
No. Preparing this video was hard, guys.
Yeah.
We had to watch Think Like a Man
Twice.
and that movie was a lot. Like, my brain is crying. So, basic summary of this movie: the women are apparently failing at this game of love, right? And conveniently, comedian Steve Harvey releases a book, right? The ultimate playbook to help them get what they want from their men, which is the ring. So they start using this book, right, as the guide that they need. And apparently everything is going great, until the guys find this book and they're like, oh my gosh, this is why we haven't been getting it, because Steve Harvey betrayed us, right? So now they start using Steve's book to get the cookie, which is what all men want, apparently. So there's a lot of back and forth that happens, a lot of manipulation, a lot of sacrificing, until through the magic of movies, everybody's relationship works out and everybody wins in the game of love. Yeah. That's the summary.
Yeah, and I'm going to spoil it because you shouldn't be watching this movie. Okay?
Don't.
And the person with the most healthiest relationship in that whole movie is a person who was not reading Steve's book.
At all.
The irony.
It was a really bad advert for the book, if I'm
Yeah.
saying, because none of the advice worked. But like,
Even the men in the movie were like, that's not true. That doesn't
Right?
work.
That's not even true. I've achieved absolutely nothing, and I still put my women first.
just from that summary, like a lot has gone wrong already. So we're gonna get into it.
I'm sure we've all heard of love being a game, a battlefield. You've heard the sayings that all is fair in love and war.
What does that mean?
It means that you can do anything, regardless of the law or morality, because the things people do in war, you know, so you can do those same things in the name of
Interesting.
love.
That explains my parents.
All right, ma'am. But yeah, these things like war require strategies.
Yeah. So do games. You know, chess, all these other games.
She doesn't play chess, guys.
I don't.
I don't understand.
It's just, But that's not the conversation today.
Okay.
Okay? Okay.
You strike me down. Ooh.
I want to strike thee inwardly. My leash. Do they say that?
I think so. Shit, stop it. But
Yeah.
these things require strategies, you know. I remember that we had to make ourselves marriage material. Remember that word? Marriage material? I hate that.
Do people still use that?
I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. Or date worthy, or else you would like get played.
Yeah.
Even our boy Stevie.
Well, what I try to get women to understand is that times have changed, but your playbook hasn't.
Calls the book a playbook, you know?
True. And you use the playbook to play games, right?
So this idea comes from the belief that there are large population disparities amongst the sexes, with there being more women than men.
Yeah. I've actually heard that before.
Yeah, I've heard a lot. I don't know why. It was very random, but now I understand why. And so people were or are still in a panic about there not being enough men for all the women to go around. That's very weird, because who's to say that, one, every woman wants to be with a man, and two, just because you're the only man left in the world, girl, they don't mean I want you.
True.
Right?
And also, some people want to be in relationships with more than one person. You know, some people are very comfortable in polyamorous relationships. You know, so this whole idea that there's only one man for one woman, again, with that, remember our soulmate video?
Yeah.
Yeah, it also goes back to say, like, there's only that one person for you, which is completely false. And some people really don't want to be in relationships. And after reading these books, I understand why. Nobody blame you.
It just comes back to that idea that marriage between one man and one woman is the most legitimate form of having a relationship.
Yeah.
And is the highest peak, and that's where everyone wants to be. And that's not true.
Yeah, definitely. Like, that's the ultimate goal. That's the ultimate prize when you play this game of love.
And the danger that we find when we look at this one point is that it, one, generalizes people.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, Steve talks about how, you know, this is how all men think. This is what all men want. And this is how they're going to have relationships. And this is how all men see you. He says that in the book. And that's not true. You know, even men who are reading this book are like, actually, I don't think this way. He doesn't speak for all men.
Sure.
He did no statistical, you know,
Research.
anything on this. He just was like, I've met a few I've met a few men in my life. I've dated a few chicks, and therefore all men must think like me.
So Steve's book generalized men as dogs that are just always in heat and only want, you know, the cookie from women. And it also generalized all women to just their ultimate goal being able to get and keep a man.
And the whole point is that people are not toys.
Yeah.
People are not all the same. Not all men are the same. I know.
Yeah.
I never thought I would ever say not all men. But here I am telling you that not all men are the same.
Yeah.
And not all women are the same. You know, not
Yeah.
all women want to get married, and not all men are trying to just fuck you.
Yeah.
You know. That's not all of us.
Yeah, we're not that desirable.
And now when it comes to having this book in your hands, you go into relationships with preconceived ideas, of what matters to people and how they should react, and if they do certain things, maybe this means that, instead of maybe getting to know the person as they are.
So you could be talking to a person online and being like, oh, will you open the door for me, And they really could be like, no, I don't do that, right? And automatically you would write this person off as, they don't respect me, they don't know my value, I have a standard and they're not meeting it. But it really could be a thing that their car doors open on their own, because that happens, and now you're missing out on the bag. You're missing out on the bag because you're jumping to conclusions because of Steve Harvey, guys.
And you could be like, oh, you guys are being ridiculous,
Yeah.
Who would actually have that conversation? But even in the movie, right, there's the mama's boy, and she knows that the moment you see the mama's boy, Regina King, whatever her character is, she's like, you have to leave him, you have to let go, because he won't put you first.
Yeah.
So he now, after reading this book, comes up to her and is like,
I can be a bit of a mama's boy. I think it really all started when my dad died. It was a rough time for us, And my mom just started relying on me for so many things, too many things. I had to be the man of the house at a really young age, and I guess maybe that's why we're so close.
Michael.
And I guess what I'm trying to say is this. You're my priority, Candace. All right?
Yeah. Nowhere in this movie do we discuss his trauma when it comes to losing his dad. Nowhere do we discuss it, dissect it, come to terms with it, heal from it. Did you break your...
I broke my sword. Okay, we're good.
We just, after she hears that, oh, he's putting me first, they move on, it's fixed, it's done. And that's ridiculous. No,
not healthy at all, but are we surprised? Anyways, the point is, he was focused on getting that cookie, because that is the prize for winning the game. Yeah, so like we mentioned before, in any game there's a prize, and in the game of love there's two prizes: the cookie and the ring. Right, she's my prize.
I'm the trophy.
She's my trophy. So the prize for women is the ring, which we're using to symbolize commitment, right? Because that shows that your relationship is real. It's serious now. He really loves you, right? Even Steve Harvey points it out in his book that a man needs to profess what you are in the relationship.
He has to give you a title.
Yeah, whether
and claim you.
If a man simply introduces you as his friend, then please understand you are nothing more than his friend. See, if a man has a plan for you in his future, then he's going to profess it. He's going to attach a title to it. You're going to be his woman, his lady, his fiance, or
My girlfriend Maya.
But he doesn't say that this is a discussion between you guys to establish what it is that you're doing in the relationship. It's just that you must be given a title.
You just wait for this man to decide what the fuck he's doing with your life.
You know whether he owns you or you're just, what do they say? Sports fish. Whether you're a keeper or a sports fish.
And if he introduces you in public without a title of girlfriend, then this is a sign to other men that, you are basically up for game. Like
up for grabs.
Up for grabs.
Session. Yeah, so now they can play and toy with you. But it gives you that title. It's a symbol to mean that, oh, stay away, this one is taken. This actually plays out in reality, this one actually. Because it's easier to tell a guy that, oh, I have a boyfriend or I have a husband, than it is to say, I'm single and not interested in you.
I'm sorry, but Jesus has my heart.
And when it comes to the prize for men, that's the cookie. Right. And Steve Harvey also refers to this as our power.
Yes, we control the cookie. She who controls the cookie controls the game. Okay.
But like the rest of Steve Harvey's book and films, there's a contradiction. First, he says that the cookie is the woman's power.
Yeah.
But in the same breath, he also kind of says that men need to meet certain conditions to earn the cookie.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, if there are conditions and, lists to tick, is it really my cookie? Can't I just give it to whoever I want, whenever I want, since it is my power? And the answer is no, because men need to earn the cookie by doing chivalrous things.
yes, she can open the door. But if you opened it for her, what would you get in return for that?
So I don't really think, that makes sense. And it doesn't feel like a power.
Yeah, if it has to meet your conditions in order for it to be activated.
Yeah.
Because it's not even conditions that we set, you know. Because if you do just want to give out your box to whoever, it becomes a problem. You're seen as easy and, you know, not the wife material. So his advice is that you have a 90-day probation period. Because when he was working for the Ford company,
They have a probation period of 90 days. You have to stay on this job for 90 days. And then after 90 days, they give you this benefit package. You can go get your eyes checked. You can go get your teeth fixed. You can take your kids down there and get them some medical attention.
and he took this as some grand life lesson to be like, oh, in order for me to get benefits in life, I need to work for free. No.
You need to prove yourself.
No, you had a job, so you were entitled to these benefits because you could really have hurt yourself in this job and this job wouldn't cover you. It was very irresponsible of them. And now you're making it this whole grand life lesson that you're teaching other people.
And
it
how
doesn't
to
make
control
sense.
their vaginas.
Right? It doesn't make sense. It's completely uncalled for. He has a lot of trauma that he really needs to deal with.
And also, your sex is not a benefit. I hope, I don't know, unless it is for you, I don't know what kind of arrangements you have in life.
Yeah.
But your sex is not necessarily a gift to give other people.
Yeah.
Because I think that I've noticed in this book is just that we never cover women's pleasure.
Yeah.
Because the cookie,
The pussy.
the pussy. Because you know what? Even calling it the cookie, fuck that shit. It ain't a cookie.
True.
It's not cookie, cat, whatever you want to call it. All these euphemisms. It's a vagina.
Yeah.
All right, and it is my sex.
Yeah.
That I'm giving out. But it is never about your pleasure.
True.
You're just waiting for some guy to come up and, you know, take some things off the list. And then you're like, okay, let's have sex now.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter whether this guy is good in bed or not.
Yeah.
Like, it never crosses Steve's mind that you could possibly not be enjoying yourself.
True.
Right?
True. It doesn't cross Steve's mind that also maybe the woman doesn't want to wait 90 days. Maybe you can't wait 90 days. Maybe you really like to have sex monthly. Like it helps balance your hormones and everything. And now he's like, oh no, you're a woman. So you can wait 90 days. So it's on you. The responsibility is on you to keep that box away from him for 90 days. And it's like, where are you getting this from? Like, what are your papers? He doesn't have any. He made that very clear.
And so I decided instead of writing some crazy book about some clinical study, you know, Dr. Field type.
Clear, actually. It's just ridiculous the way he thinks he understands women, right? Because I know this book is like, I understand men, but he's saying that, oh, but I also understand how you work as a woman, and it's wrong. So now you need to alter yourself like this so that it can work for us. Which will work for you.
And sex is just very commoditized in
Yeah.
this book because now that, you know, men think that they have to earn it or you think that they have to earn it, it doesn't matter who this man is as long as he does these few things on your list and he ticks them off and he's waited 90 days. It feels like, oh, maybe this guy is now entitled to your vagina. And a lot of guys think that if they can just be the nice guy and tick all these boxes that they are entitled to your sex.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And that can have like real consequences, like life-threatening consequences where people are like, but I was nice to you, but I gave you attention and that's what all women want, so why don't you want my attention? And then actually harm you because you're not responding the way he expects you to respond as a woman.
You can't earn someone's sex.
You can't.
That's not a thing. You don't earn unless, you know, get arrangements. You can't earn the ability to have sex with someone. You can only have sex with someone when they consent to it.
Yeah.
Not when you have decided that you meet
The
criteria. There's no such thing. I don't know. Like, am I being ridiculous?
Are we not getting it?
I'm not getting it.
In the hetero community, it's just the relationship with sex is worrying. Like, even growing up, sex was very taboo. People never discussed it. And yet, that's how we're all here. Like, I think certain things need to be discussed. Money and sex needed to be discussed. These are things that impact our lives, like, on a daily. And things we're actually expected to do at some point. And yet, no one ever talks about it beyond diseases and childbearing.
And then he goes on to say further that, you know, if you are not giving your mans the cookie, I don't know how we went from you shouldn't be giving the man your cookie, but then you're not giving your man your cookie, but cool. When you're not giving him sex, him looking for it elsewhere is justifiable because you're not giving it to him at home, right? And it's like, okay, all right, justifiable how? You know, because you don't even ask why we're not having sex.
Yeah.
That is never brought up.
Yeah.
Maybe man's is just not good.
You're not hitting the spot,
You're
bro.
not hitting the spot, bro. Maybe it's just not great. Maybe I'm really sick, you know? And this idea that women have to always be giving sex to people. And we know how, you know, the stats are for women, for straight women and pleasure. It's not looking great.
No.
So maybe instead of, you know, going, I want to have sex, you got a headache, oh my God. Maybe ask yourself if you're doing enough.
True.
You're the reason I have this headache. You know,
Truly.
you're not doing it.
Truly.
You're not hitting the spot.
You're not hitting the spot. But that, again, that's never discussed. Because it's just like, oh, you are supposed to give sex if he is chivalrous, if he says the 3 magic words.
Love you, girl.
Without even meaning to, Zeke done messed around and uttered the 3 magic words that finally opened the cookie jar.
And that seems to be the 2 big requirements for the box. It's like you are either saying the 3 magic words, which are I love you, for those who haven't caught on yet, and also the ownership. So if he gives you a title, it's like, yeah, you're mine. Now he's entitled to your sex. Or if he says, I love you, now he's entitled to your sex. But like, people lie, guys. And also people can just say, I love you, right? But what does that actually mean? Like, how do you define love? When you say that, what are you trying to communicate to me? Because if I say I love you, I might be meaning the completely different thing to what you're trying to communicate, right? Me saying I love you is, I want to spend all my time with you, right? You saying I love you could be like, I think you're cool, we can kick it, but I need some space. But this is not being discussed. It's just like, if someone loves you, then they must know what to do. All of a sudden, the Cupid rains upon them, you know, the guidebook to how you exist and what you need. It's sorry. Actually, this video is just, it's getting to, like, every time I'm like, I'm cool, we can do this, I get more and more frustrated because I really lived this life.
Yeah, no, I remember at some point I just felt like I could not explore my sexuality. Like, I'm only starting now to kind of understand my own sexuality. All right, girl. And that's because, you know, for the most part, whilst growing up, it wasn't really my thing. Like, my body, it wasn't my sex. Because it was just what is this? It was just something I held for ransom in order to get guys to kind of like commit. And because you're like, yeah, I'm not gonna have sex with you. And, you know, I'm grateful for some people I did not have sex with. But that's just because I didn't want to have sex with you, not because you didn't commit. That's not the point.
True. But then once you committed, you felt that pressure to be like, oh, now they're my boyfriend, so I'm supposed to.
Yeah. And it's just, it didn't feel like it was
about you,
about me and me having fun or me enjoying this. This was just something I had to do, like a chore that I had to just tick off my list, you know, like just
as
like
a girlfriend.
Yeah, as a girlfriend, like, I just have to, you know, do the thing. And not that it was bad or anything, it didn't feel like I could come I didn't feel like I could come into myself.
Love it.
It sounds so wrong, but what I mean is I couldn't be myself. Yeah.
Sure, that's what you mean. You said what you meant. Yeah, like whether it's related to your sex or the status of your relationship, it seems like women are the ones that constantly have to be making sacrifices.
Hey roommates, thank you for making it this far. We know it's a very long video, but we're so grateful. And this is kind of like a tea break, so we're gonna take this time to thank you guys for all the comments that you left on our previous videos. We're really grateful and looking forward to more of this.
And if you're still watching, it's been 2/3 of the way, 1 more to go. Just comment down below that I blame it on Cinderella so that we know you're still here. That'll be our little signal.
So yeah, back to the video. Okay, so a very common theme that I found in this book was sacrifice, you know, mostly by women. And women have to sacrifice a lot to be with men. Like, this whole entire book is based on the idea that men are a certain way, their DNA is, you know, specific, and it's also socialized because contradictions, but that's fine, we're gonna leave that out. And women are the ones who have to make changes in their behavior, in their manners, in their lives, in order to accommodate men's bullshit. You know,
like Steve Harvey says, there's no such thing as a perfect man. You have to compromise on something.
And this is not a new concept. This is not something Steve just dreamt up, you know, even though it does feel like it sometimes. This is a thing that has been going on forever, but we don't call it sacrifice. We call it compromise.
Yeah, compromise. I see a lot of self-help books and advice. People are like, in a relationship you need to compromise. There's no such thing as a perfect partner, so you need to make compromises. Compromising in a relationship, you know, and all this advice on how to compromise. And I hate that word. We hate that word. We hate the word compromise, because when you look into it, compromise means you're giving up something, you know. And if you constantly have to be giving up parts of yourself to be with someone, it ends up building resentment. Like, there's a lot of resentment that will build up over the years, you know, being with this person. So we do not believe in compromise at all. It's not something that is applicable here. We prefer to reach a consensus. Right.
And I understand that, you know, there are times when it does feel like, you know, someone needs to let go of something in order
give in.
But that's the point. You don't need to do that. It's not necessarily like compulsory that you have to give something up in order for you to be happy.
True.
And that's what she means by consensus.
Yeah, for example, when we first started, you know, shopping together, it was a big one, right? Our friends can testify to shopping with us. We had to learn a lot of things. So I liked a particular brand of coffee, and she liked a different brand of coffee, right? So in the beginning, it was like a fight. We're trying to buy both coffees. We were like, it's more economical if we buy one coffee, right? Cool. We're like, okay, so you can have your month of coffee and I can have my month of coffee, right? But then it's annoying trying to consume something knowing that, your partner is not enjoying it, right? We like doing things together, you know, and it's like, she's having this coffee just because, you know, I want it, but you know, it took the taste out of it.
It doesn't feel genuine.
It didn't feel genuine. And that 1 month you just know that your partner is not enjoying themselves, and there's a lot of resentment when it comes to just coffee. You know, like, it's the little things, guys. The little things matter, right? So we were like, okay, this is not working. This 1 month you, 1 month me thing, it's not working out. So we're like, okay, let's try new coffees together. Okay, let's just do this. Let's find a brand that we can both like. That was the initial thing. We're like, we're gonna find a brand we both like. So we started buying different brands of coffee. We even ended up liking this house brand, right, which was very convenient because it was really big and
quite cheap.
Very cheap, right? And we really liked it. It was something that we consumed together. And we're like, let's try out new brands of coffee. So now it became like a new thing that we did. We're just like, there's a new coffee. Let's try it out. You know, and we actually ended up finding better coffees than the ones we used to drink. You know, and had we stayed so stubborn in like, no, you're going to have my coffee, we need to have my coffee and stuff, right? We wouldn't have the chance to actually discover new brands of coffee that are way better, you know? So that kind of reaching a consensus of, okay, let's both come together, right? Let's find a condition where we both feel like no one is cheated, right?
Even if that means you guys buying separate coffees, that's okay as well.
Yeah, as long as like you both feel like you've had a healthy discussion and you've reached a conclusion that you both feel like you're on equal footing, there's no resentment, and you can move forward.
And Steve is a very big believer of compromise, aka let your man be a man.
Yeah.
You know, because in his book he mentions the story of how he and his wife Marjorie went diving once, you know, and Steve can't dive, so Marjorie was doing most of the diving, if not all. So when they're diving, Steve has to stay on the boat, and he gets really nervous and feels like he can't be a man and protect his wife, and he feels a little emasculated, you know, because he can't protect his wife. He can't do it. She's down there with some random man stranger that isn't him, so he's not being able to do it, and he gets really upset about this. And when she comes up, they basically have a conversation where she kind of is like, you know what, I won't dive anymore because, you know, you don't feel comfortable with it. And she basically had to stop diving because Steve did not feel comfortable with her doing it. Not for out of her safety, but because he could not be a man, literally, because he could not protect her.
Yeah.
He was like, she understood that, I needed to be a man. And so she stopped diving, and did more safer things where I can, look out for her. Literally what he says in his book. And I thought that was very interesting.
Concerning. Again, I used that word a lot in this video because this is concerning. It's so concerning, guys, because you have no business. Like, I'm a certified diver. You have no business telling me, that, oh, you want to protect me and you can't. Yeah, but I got me.
I thought the most interesting thing was that he never once thought that, maybe I can learn how to dive and go diving with her.
Yeah.
She just had to stop immediately.
Yeah.
She had to do the change again.
Yeah.
And not him. He didn't put any effort into like, maybe if I learn, I can accompany her.
Yeah. No, it wasn't about that. It's all about supporting your man's dream, supporting your man's ego. That's what it is. That's really is the whole basis of being a woman, is that you need to make your man feel like a man.
At all times.
At all times.
You are basically the supporting character in your man's life because you are striving for his dreams and everything that he wants to achieve. It is never about you.
Yeah,
right?
This even pops up in the movie with that song, a beautiful song we played in the beginning, because Maya's man he wasn't even trying to be a musician. But he was a musician, and she heard that song. She was like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing," And then she went and gave that song, the CD, to like her recorder uncle, and then he got like a recording deal or whatever. Mind you, in this whole movie, we have no idea what this woman does for a living.
I realized, I was like, what does Maya do?
We looked.
I was like, what is she doing? Maybe we'll watch this thing again for the third time and find, because there was no mention of what Maya does. Everybody had a job. Everybody did something, It wasn't obvious at all times, but we kind of figured out what people were doing. Maya's the whole premise of her character was this man's dream. Yeah. This man's goal, just that, know.
The man was the goal, and then his goals were her goals.
And I'm not saying you can't support your partners. You can't help them move forward in life. I'm just saying it was just weird how her whole character was just based around this man and his dreams. It was weird.
It was. But then that's what Steve encourages in his book, that, you must be there to support your man.
Because, a man will only consider, taking a wife when he has...
When he knows who he is, knows what he wants, and something. I'll find it.
Just basically when he has, achieved all his dreams and is making enough money to consider, having a woman. And it's like... weird because he's acting as if women don't do the same thing,
right?
It's just women are always available for relationships, and you need to wait on men to be like, I'm financially stable now, I can now provide. Yes, that shit. Provide, protect, and profess. So it's weird. It's a horrible
weird.
book.
Like, even in the movie.
And you know what? If I were a man, being the youngest COO of a Fortune 500 company would actually be a good thing. Women would flock.
Yeah, but men flee when you lead with that. And it's not just your job, Lauren. Remember what Marcel said on your last day? After you trumped his wine choice?
It was a better choice.
What were his words again? You don't need a man, Lauren. You are a man.
It's like you need to kind of like tone yourself down.
There's just a lack of communication and getting to know your partner as your partner and not just a man or a woman, You could bypass all this 90-day stuff by just asking someone, hey, do you want to hit it on the first night? Is it what you're into? Are you looking for something serious?
What does serious mean to you?
What does this mean to you? You can really bypass all that, because just because you have, sex on the first night doesn't necessarily mean you won't have a long-lasting and very fulfilling, relationship.
True.
Or that the person won't take you seriously.
And even if you wait 90 days and then have sex, it doesn't mean now the person is obliged to stay with you.
Yeah.
At all.
And also sexual compatibility. Like, you're waiting these 90 days, you smash, and then you're like, oh, wait, I actually don't enjoy this,
Like, am I allowed to leave?
Am I allowed to leave? Not that I've invested 90 days into this, So it's just weird. Instead of, just reading books and then applying them to every single person you want to meet, maybe get to know the people and figure out what they want.
Yeah.
As
individuals.
And
just being open-minded to things as well.
Because whether you use this criteria or not, people who will lie to you will lie to you. That's the truth.
So if you want to know our views on how to communicate You can check out our video, 5 steps to help you and your partner communicate. You're probably wondering what is possibly more disturbing than what we have addressed. It is the fact that this was a very heterosexual movie. And we understood that. We knew what we were getting ourselves into. It's a very, very heterosexual movie. We expected nothing but heteronormativity. And strangely enough, part of that is lesbians being mentioned left, right, and center. I wasn't understanding, because I didn't notice the first time I watched it when I was younger. I really didn't. It didn't register. But now that I'm a little bit older and wiser, they just kept making these really hurtful, ignorant, deplorable lesbian jokes.
I'm so sick and tired of men. Maybe I should start dating women.
No, actually, I have a date.
Really? With a man or a woman?
A man! Dude, why would you even ask me that?
Because I overheard Grandma say that she was beginning to wonder.
Your mother tells me that you're still single. Don't worry about it, because I think I have a solution. I have somebody I think would be perfect for you at my office. Her name is Amy. But she's
not in that chapter, sugar.
Well, she might want to read the book, honey.
I realize all these things of people really believe that lesbians are here to cater to straight women that can't find men.
If you can't, we're not backup plans for when you can't find, a good black man.
Yeah, like my sexuality is not a choice or a little trip you can take down to experiment and have some fun in. Like, it really is my life. Like this I'm planning to be with, an amazing, wonderful woman, and it's probably not you, especially if you're coming from these hetero relationships with these hetero standards, and now you expect to inflict. Like, if you really can't work through relationships where there is like proper communication and we're working through something together, it's not gonna fly here. We don't need that toxicity here. We're trying to create our own new ways to love and be with our partners, and you will come here with your standards and your beliefs. I don't know. I don't get, what do they think they'll get from us? Girl. Like we said, if you do want to get to know our views on communication, you can check out this video.